to my children, who it was good to sit down in the stands and watch them speak for once. So that was nice. Before I get started, I just want to say a couple things about these two guys right here. First, I'll start with Mark. Mark he's actually become one of my better friends. One of the great stories I have with Mark before we really knew him and Colleen. We went on a quarterback cruise together. And so we flew into Alaska. Before we got in the boat, we had to spend the night. And we found out that we were roomed with the Wilsons. And we didn't know them at all. So we got into our room first. And we were there about 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, we heard some at the door. And I'm like, it's Mark and his wife. Pretend you're sleeping. So we kind of closed our eyes and let them come to bed. And we just went to bed. So I didn't really talk to Mark until after that, but we had a great time. I was really nervous. I've never talked to another adult couple in bed. So it was really good. And then Luke. Luke, he would come over to our house for dinner, and he would play with our kids. And Luke is a big boy. He kind of looked like that when he was in college, too. He may have been even a little bit bigger. But the kids would have a blast. I would have all 6 kids just hanging on Luke Staley as he would run on his knees all the way home. I mean, all the way for a touchdown. And so, I mean, it got to be sometimes 10, 10:30, and the kids just wouldn't let him go home. And it was a lot of fun, though. So, and just to let you know, Luke is probably one of the greatest running backs I've ever seen, especially putting on a BYU uniform. The guy was truly amazing. I remember in the press box, we must have said, wow, he's really good, isn't he? A million times. So he's awesome. So I appreciate, it's great to be up here with these guys. When did this all start? I probably weighed about 170 pounds in high school, hated football, but it started before that. It started all with Royer Park. Royer Park was our Parks and Rec, where all the kids went to play flag football, basketball with the chains on as nets, and games, and you would box, and you would have one guy that ran the whole program. And it was just what we did. We were able to ride our bikes about 3 miles, didn't have to worry about people beating us up, stealing anything from us. It was the greatest thing. And then I got into punt, pass, and kick. So punt, pass, and kick, I'm sure you've all seen that. I would spend, I don't know why, but I loved to practice. And I had to practice the first few times because I had to go with the age group younger. So I would take my mom out there, and me and my mom would be out in the middle of the street in front of our house, and you know, a football doesn't bounce straight to you. It goes all over the place. So I would punt it. My mom would be chasing it. She'd try to throw it back to me. And I mean, I would be out there for at least an hour practicing. And then finally, a couple years later, they finally put the age groups to where I could go with my age group. So it came to my last year, and it was a lot of fun. We got to go to a Raiders game, and at halftime, I got to perform for that. And then I won there, and then we got to go to the Houston Astrodome. First time we were on an airplane, at least for me, probably my parents too. And we got to go, and I don't know what it's like. Now I can kind of get a feel, but when I was a little kid, Terry Bradshaw was eating breakfast, and I went up to him and got his autograph. And then later in my life, when I went to an All-American thing, I talked to Terry Bradshaw again. And he told me, you'll never make it in this league unless you get drunk. So come drink with me. And I said, no, thank you, and just walked away. So I saw 2 sides of that guy, but it was thrilling for me. And then I got into high school. First time I ever played tackle football. It was just too physical of a game, I guess. I don't know, but I didn't like it. I didn't want to put on pads. I didn't want someone tackling me. So went out as a freshman. 2 weeks later, I said, this is not for me. So I quit. And my brother was the quarterback on the varsity team. He was here today. And I looked up to my brother. My brother was the greatest athlete I've ever seen. And he was the starting quarterback on the varsity team. And if you can believe it, we ran the wishbone. That was probably why I quit. I weighed 160 pounds. I just couldn't do it. So anyways, I felt like I couldn't learn the plays, didn't want to get hit and all this stuff. And then my brother talked me into it. And so he taught me how to learn the plays. He taught me how to play. And so then I went back out on the team. And I finished the season out. Even quitting for a week and a half, they still let me be the quarterback and do all those things. I kind of had a natural gift, I guess, for throwing the football. So that was kind of fun that they let me do that. Then played on the JV team as a sophomore, which is how they did it in California. Then I started as a junior and senior, and every time I played in a football game, my brother was on the sidelines. When I came to BYU, he kept stats, and he was on the sidelines. Andy Reid was one of the graduate assistants, and Andy and John actually were pretty good friends, and to this day, Andy still calls him Turtle. I don't know why he calls him Turtle, but he always asks me, hey, how's Turtle doing? I go, he's doing good. He's doing good. So he's been the biggest support of me forever. When we were little, we would go outside and shoot baskets. It would shoot for dimes. About 10 minutes later, I'd owe him like $2. Go in the house and start crying. Never had to pay him, but it was crazy though. But it was good having an older brother. I learned a lot, and being able to play with him and his friends was pretty cool. Then my two older sisters. You know, anybody that's not a baby in the family is missing something. I have two of the best older sisters anybody could ever have. And as you can see, by having my children speak, family is just the most important thing to me. I love my family. I'm so grateful for them. I'm so grateful for my mom being here and my dad being at home. He was too sick to come. But I love them dearly. I want to make sure I put a shout out to my good girl, Shirley, over there. She did type a few of my papers in college. I think that's okay, still isn't it, President? It's been 30-something years, so surely we're safe, I think. Anyways, then I came to BYU, and it truly is the best decision I ever made. I met a lot of great people here, a lot of great friends. And this is where I also met my wife, Karen, who I love very much. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the coaches that I had. And really more than anything is really my teammates. We grew a lot as a team and as friends and family. And although a lot of them have moved away and live out of state, there's a lot of good friends here that are very important to me. As when I became the starting quarterback, I remember my grandma and grandpa who lived in Price actually lived right around the corner from President Worthen. I think we probably played kick the can a lot when we were little kids, and I'm sure President Worthen was in that little group of kids playing. But my grandpa on his car, he had on his license plate, he had the thing that says, "I'm Robbie Bosco's grandpa." And I'm like, oh Lord. You have to have that thing driving through Provo. But you know what? It was family, and that's what we did. And then I can remember after every home game, And it was always a joyous occasion because we didn't lose a lot of football games. But all my relatives from Price, I had an Auntie D and an Uncle George. That meant the world to me. And my Uncle George was a tough dude. He was a Marine. And I can remember I lived in a basement of a little house by myself, and after every home game we would have chili, and a big pot of chili. And I can remember he would grab the chili with paper towels. And one time, and he had to walk probably 15 steps to set it on the table that we ate at. And one time when he lifted it up, the paper towels caught on fire, and they were burning. And his hands were on fire, but I'm telling you, he was a Marine. He just walked over there and, as tough as can be, put it on there and just kind of wiped his hands off, and we started eating. But it's always been about family to me. I honestly do not know why. I grew up, I had awesome parents, and just unbelievable support. It was hard growing up as the youngest child, especially with my brother. I mean, my brother he was amazing. He was the best shooter I've ever seen until I came to BYU and Jimmer showed up. Sorry, John. Jimmer's pretty good. But my brother's really good. And it was one of the great things. I remember when Brian Santiago asked about, did we ever feel like we could win the national championship in '84? And I always kind of questioned it, but I do know this. In 1985, we really did think we could win the national championship again before the year started. And we lost a really, really close game to UCLA at home. And that kind of ended a 25-game winning streak by BYU. And then we lost kind of still hurts me still, but we lost to UTEP, which wasn't a real good game for us. And then we lost to Ohio State in the bowl game, which was we played down in Florida. So I have a lot of fond memories of BYU. I have fond memories of the administration. President Holland, Elder Holland, President Holland was our president at the time. Very, very supportive of all of us as players and as teammates. And of course, we talked about him before, but Coach Edwards. Coach Edwards was the reason why we were so successful. He all kept us kind of with an even keel, and we never got too high, never got too low, but we all played very, very hard for him. And obviously, he was a very much of a father figure to all of us. And then it was one of the great things I'll never forget is we didn't have the internet back then. And so you really couldn't get any articles. And every week, Patty would cut out every single article she could find, put them together, and send them back home to my mom and dad. I don't know if that happens anymore in the coaching world, but it happens here at BYU, and it's really, really, really cool. I just want to say thank you for everybody that came from the Staley family and friends, everybody that came from the Will